All right, we're live.
Hello, people.
Hey guys, welcome to the
Hello.
VKA. How's it going? Virtual Knife Academy here on a Friday. We are having a great day. A little overcast here in Ohio. I don't know what you guys are looking about in the state of Pennsylvania. Nick, looks like the sun's shining in on you. What's up with that?
It's raining here. It's just I'm next to a window, so yeah, it's sort of wet. Hence my hair. I was outside for a bit.
Gotcha.
Oh, I hear the echo.
Well, we're all
Turned
putting
it
our
down.
Facebook up to where we can see, so we're good to go. So no problem.
Cool.
That's me.
What are you doing, Sam?
And I fixed it.
I'm watching this live feed on Facebook.
Yeah.
Looks
I
like
see.
Scott and LT are watching with me.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, the four people that we have watching are the four of you.
Hey, Paul Fortunato's here.
Hey,
Hi,
Paul.
Paul.
Good
What's
to
up,
have you on
Paul?
board. So, hey, I'm bringing you another Friday of fun and coolness. So, what'd you guys do? What'd you guys do all week? Sammy, what'd you do all week?
Well, I started off my week at the cabin, relaxing and social distancing from everybody.
Yeah, I see. That was good, right?
Oh, yeah. Loved it. Nice and relaxing. Not that I haven't been
Flatlander's
doing
watching.
enough of that, but
Hey.
And you got the grass mowed.
I did get the grass mowed, yeah.
No fire anywhere, right?
And,
Did that field grow back yet?
I mean, just like a
Actually,
campfire.
that field is nice and green right now.
Campfire.
There's a few things I need to move, and then I could mow that field that we caught on fire. So
You know, burning is sometimes actually like the best fertilizer.
Oh, it's nice and
Oh,
green
yeah.
right now.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
There
great.
you go.
It's a good. So what are you up to, Mikey?
Been working on the Land Rover truck cab this week. So that's what I've been
cool.
doing when I'm not, looking at this computer.
That sounds actually pretty darn good. Like, I saw a picture of it on the Facebook thing.
Yeah,
What's is it coming along?
it's getting there. I'd be a lot happier if I had the tub to measure against instead of the cardboard drawing that I have.
Oh, well,
But
It's a start.
yeah.
I got
Good.
the old side panels off, and I have a plan to reattach the new side panels that hopefully is going to work because they're about twice as thick as the old ones.
Sounds like a little modern.
Yeah.
Some fun stuff going on.
Just
Excellent.
longer rivets.
Yeah.
Right on. Scott, what did you get accomplished this week?
I'm sure everyone who owns a Land Rover has heard of ship fitters disease.
Oh, what?
That's when you say, I'm going to go put air in the tire. Oh, I think this wheel bearing's loose. I'm going to tighten that up. Oh, look, the tie rod needs replaced. Look at the leak in that oil pan. And then, like, within 2 hours, you got it down to the frame. I went to go put the CB in the truck, and then went, I need to weld a tab on the back of the rack for the, okay, and then I did that. Oh,
And
the
then you
coax
fell
is
down
too
the
short.
stairs.
I need to weld a tab on the front, take the rack off the cap. Oh, look, I have 3 other tabs. I might as well weld these on for fog lights. Oh, look, I have fog lights left over from Christmas. Oh, I wired those in. Oh, look, I got, and then, ask me if I have a working CB.
Wow.
I do have an antenna mounted
Is
correctly.
it touching the
and-
rear bumper? Is it falling down again?
Oh,
No.
is it angled forward?
Is it that one?
Like a
That one?
snorkel?
Like that?
No,
Or is it?
it does have a spring. I put the quick release thing on it like I had the other setup.
Oh, so instead of folding it over, now we can just take it off your truck.
No, it's right in the middle between the fog lights. You can't reach it. You have to open the back door, step on the sill, reach over the
Sam
So
will
it's
just stand on my
semi-quick
shoulder.
release.
It's
That'll be
fine.
all right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hey, I see Flatlanders here too. What's up, Brian? Good to see you, buddy.
Hey,
Yo,
Yeah.
I got your axe here.
that's what I was up to. Farting around the garage, trying to stay
Wow.
6 feet away from people.
Well, that sounds good. Nick, what do you got going on?
I got another batch of bread rising over on the stove there. And I just got something
Nice.
in the mail today from Pacific Northwest Bushcraft, this wax canvas bag.
We love those
for
guys.
my
Yeah.
Oh man, do they make good stuff or what?
Yep.
Yeah.
And
my
they're genuinely
jet
nice
boil.
people.
Dig
So
it.
it's got all these pockets on the outside here. I'm
Yeah.
really loving this.
Is that actually for a jet boil?
No, but they make I think 3 sizes primarily, and some odds and ends sizes sometimes. But the wax canvas on here is just phenomenal. It's a beautiful color already, and as it ages, I think it's just going to get even better. But all these nice pockets on the outside, there's room for tea,
Sporks.
coffee, oats, my spoon,
Right on.
whatever you want. You could even put the whole French press kit in one of these pockets if you didn't want to keep it inside the jet boil. So that
Okay.
came for me in the mail this morning, and I've been going through my gear and
Well, did you order it specifically for your jet
I
boil?
did, yeah. I measured the jet boil and picked the
'Cause I'm
size
kinda-
that I thought would work.
I'm kind of digging that pretty heavy.
Oh yeah, it's coming
Hey,
in 3 different colors too.
Brian, Marinan, check this out. Hold it up again.
Okay, I got something else I got to hold up for him too.
All right.
So this
Jet
is called
boil cup.
this is called the cedar bag. They call these their cedar bags.
I am really digging that, man.
So drawstring, nice big wide open at the top there.
On.
And jet boil comes out. Nice flat bottom, so if you wanted to put other stuff in it, like loose stuff, it stands up on its own.
Like our
Like-
titanium cup for the bottom of the jet boil.
Yeah.
I was going to
yeah,
Google
yeah.
that yesterday, and I totally forgot. So I'm going to look it up after we're done with our niceness today. But
Hey.
the other thing I need to show,
Wait a minute. Hey, I see Cowboys here. What's up, Cowboy?
Brian,
Yo.
here it is, buddy.
Hope
Whoa,
everything's
whoa,
good.
whoa. What was that?
Yeah,
That's for
you
Brian.
Will show everyone else.
What am I, an
Brian?
orphan? Show it again. That was too fast.
Brian bought my Holtz Brooks all mic.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dig it.
Right on, right on.
Is that the one I got for you at Expo?
No.
Okay.
It is not.
So that sounds good. So the bread thing's working, eh?
yeah, really good. Too good.
It's like,
You can mail one
Woo.
this way if you want.
yeah.
I might bring some up to the shop when we get back to normal.
Okay. Not hating that idea. Not
Please
hating
make
at
a
all.
fresh loaf because this will be moldy by the time you bring it to
I
the
will make fresh. Yes. I think I'm gonna try to make that like part of my Sunday like routine. So before we go to church,
Oh.
I'm gonna put it up, get it to rise, and then bake it when we get back.
Yeah, that's how Elaine and I kind of do our week for like setting up our lunches and stuff. I'll get out all of our nuts and stuff and seeds and stuff and make our nut bags and get that all set up for the week.
Cool. Very cool.
Hold it in, Michael.
I can't. I'm sorry.
I wish I could see his face. More than
Snorkels up.
Okay.
He does
Dang
stuff
it.
like that all the
Oh,
time.
I can see it in your
Above
face.
the stuff.
I meant our containers.
There you
Oh, we
go.
know what you meant.
Oh,
Better
yeah.
word. Better word.
Anyway,
I got you, buddy.
so yeah. So Elaine and I have been actually kind of busy, man. We've had some emails and a lot of like business going on. So that's good stuff. It's things happening in the world. So I've kind of been busy doing that at night. Man, she made cornbread the other night. Excellent. We had some maple bacon jam. Maple bacon jam. I think. Is that what she said, Sammy? Was it maple? What she told us that day?
I think so.
Man, you want to talk about good. Roasted onions, the taste of maple, and bacon in a jelly jam.
Scooter, what is that face?
Brian Marinan sent me a text. Nothing. Continue. Maple bacon jam.
All righty.
Well, there you have it. Now I'm confused. I got lost.
Maple bacon jam.
Maple
You're
bacon.
talking about the
Oh, sorry.
deliciousness
Yeah.
of the maple bacon jam.
Oh man, it was so good. It was excellent. So that's kind of what my week. We've been actually kind of busy. It's now Friday, and looking forward to the weekend. And I have some plans, things to do. Taking it. Yep. So everybody been doing all right?
Yeah.
So we are on day 754 of quarantine, or what? Sequester. We're being sequestered. Yeah.
Okay.
So hey, let's talk about some knives and stuff.
Yes. Whoa, teaser.
So
I got knives.
what I've been thinking,
Let me get some more knives.
you got some
Go
stuff.
ahead.
I see your cleaver, and I raise you a GNS.
Oh, but I see your GNS, and I raise you a piggybacked small northern hunter.
Oh, nice. Good. Right on.
Anyway, continue, LT. We're getting sidetracked.
I know. Well, last week we were talking about steels. I think we talked about steels and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Quite a lot, yeah.
Okay. Well, let's lean towards going in with. Let's talk about grinds. And again, hey, Jelly Jammers, Joe Flyers is on. What's up, brother Joe?
Crazy Joe.
Hi, Joe.
All is well, buddy. I guess Joe wants to talk about machetes. No, I'm kidding.
Probably. Wait a minute. I got to tell you this story. I don't know if anyone else saw Joe on Instagram the other night with Bushcrap 2.0. If you don't follow those accounts on Instagram, I would do that. But they were on there, and Joe made a toilet in the woods out of a lawn chair with his machete. It was entertaining as hell.
I didn't see that.
And you missed it.
I'll have to look.
I was certain he was going to lose a limb at one point because he was like just violently hacking at this poor lawn chair, and it was one of those old white lawn chairs.
He's a professional.
He held it up. He's like, "Look, ta-da! I made this."
Oh,
okay,
man.
I'll have to check that out.
So, hey, we were talking last week. We kind of went in the steel direction. Let's go in the grind direction a little bit. Okay.
Good.
Again, spending some of this home time being sequestered at the house, I have put a lot more time behind our kitchen knives than I generally do as a general rule. I try to help out as much as I can, but Elaine only lets me help out so much.
Well, you're only so much help.
Oh,
Wow,
Well,
that was a little hurtful, Mike.
yeah, right. Hey, brother Ange is on. What's up, Andy?
Andy,
So,
King of the Overlanders.
yeah.
he is building the coolest trailer.
Last night he sent us a video of the running water trailer.
Oh,
I saw
fancy
it.
spency.
Mike
I
would be
saw it.
proud. Yeah.
He sent it to me too.
Okay. Yeah, good stuff. I like it. It's looking good. That trailer is pretty immaculate.
Yeah,
Took the faucet
Nice.
out of the kitchen, hooked it to a battery.
it's
job.
mounted on top of a water can. It's pretty nice.
Scepter can, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's it's working pretty. Now the only problem is because we're sequestered, he doesn't get to go camping with us.
He can camp in his yard. He's got plenty of room.
Yeah,
He
just
camps on
set
the
up
other
some
side of his
mannequins around
pond
the campfire.
sometimes.
Oh, true. Yeah, no, the trailer's coming along really good. Looks great. Talking about grinds. So let's. When I was getting sidetracked here,
kitchen knives.
Right. Man, and slicing cheese gives you a whole.
Yes.
What?
Were you cutting the cheese or slicing the
I
cheese?
said slicing cheese.
First it's the nuts, now it's the cheese.
Anyway,
You're
We're
killing me,
all
small
getting a
tall.
little goofy
Hey.
from
Killing
being
me
in our
talls.
cabins.
my wife got us. We're supporting small businesses, so she found this small cheese company online, and we ordered their sampler pack. So we got all this cheese. Which here I go down the rabbit hole. So I had for lunch sriracha Gouda.
I like that. Love me
Just the
some Gouda.
name says it's good, right?
That would be good in mac and cheese.
Are you going to send us the link after we're done with this? Because I might have to try that.
I think it's
Telling you.
I believe cheesebrothers.com. Check it out.
Oh, okay.
Cheesebrothers.com.
Yeah.
I'm checking it out.
So we got their sampler pack. And the whole reason I'm telling you this is because, man, that was good. That's sriracha Gouda. It was awesome. It was fantastic. No, is so naturally it's in chunks, and I'm slicing that because I want to use it on my wraps for lunch, right? So again, the fine art of slicing cheese. Now, if those out there have ever used the wire cheese slicers,
Yeah.
they freaking work. So
Yeah.
no. A knife, because of that sticky and that suction, that creates a whole new dimension of the cheese. But the cool part that I had a lot of time to mess with and kind of think in my head, and I got some ideas for stuff, is because it sticks on the way down, it has a tendency, because you're putting downward pressure, and you're not really sawing it like a tomato. Well, yeah, right, exactly. The cheese is kind of doing this no matter what.
Yeah. Yes.
But also, shape of the handle, top to bottom, came very much into play because of my hand wanting to go faster than the knife is coming through the cheese, because it's, it kind of goes like this, as opposed to my brain's going like this, really fast.
Like
so your hand, the twisting motion.
You got to make that noise. Sorry, all right, I'm done.
So what I'm saying is I'm, and I'm paying more attention to the techniques because I have this sequester time on my hands. So I'm like, okay, so why am I getting this pressure going this way or that way? And the fact that the handle fit the hand so well kept it from rolling off to the side, but it also gave me some more insight on the kitchen knife side of things, going, hey, if we do this on another run of things, handle-wise, we can...
Oh, wait. What knife did you use? Because you didn't say.
Oh, it would have been the large powder. Yeah.
Okay.
Solid choice.
I love that knife.
Worked well because on the kitchen knives, we're doing the thin and tall kind of thing. So again, it kept the knife from wanting to twist as it was getting, through the cheese being the way it is. And yeah, man, I was really digging that. Just one of those things in the quiet of the morning, I sit there and think about.
Strange you should mention cutting cheese, because yesterday...
I mentioned slicing cheese.
Yes. Oh, sorry, slicing cheese.
Okay.
Well, we all know where you would go with that.
Yeah.
I used this to cut a little bit of cheese.
A serrated knife.
Didn't work real great. The cheese came out weird. But it worked. But
right. But that takes me right back around to grinds, where I was wanting to potentially head. So that being a nice, flat, thin ground, cut very nice. Don't get me wrong. I was having really good. I was cutting really nice slices of cheese, but I was mentally making notes as I'm going along, going, oh, if this had this X, Y, and Z, it would be a better situation. So my thought is, I like the flat grind very much for the kitchen duties. I think last week we also talked about the height and angle of the flat grinds, which if let's say if you have a 2-inch blade, top to bottom on a 1/8 inch stick, your geometry is going to be a lot different than the other ones.
Yeah.
So definitely liking flat grind stuff for slicing. Definitely liking the Scandinavian and also the saber grinds just in general for bushcrafting and so on and so forth. Kitchen duties. What are you preferring? Anybody? Kitchen duties.
Actually, I'm not hating the convex. I redid some of our kitchen knives, reground some that we had gotten as a wedding present, and they were really, really ultra rough hollow grinds when we got them, and they were relatively sharp. I don't know what kind of steel they were, but it was thin stuff, thinner than 3/32, I think.
Right.
So they were a little pretty slicey, but the hollow grinds on them were awful, and once they lost their edge, it was really tough. There was no honing them back. They had to be redone. So I ended up just regrinding them to convex, and they've been working really good. I don't hate that, especially in that thinner stock. So
what is it, 1/16?
It must be, yeah, something like that. It's very thin.
What are you looking, varying or what?
You mean it's full height?
Yeah.
I took them up to full height. Yep.
Well, what are 1 inch, 2 inch? What are you going on?
Well, it goes all the way from a chef knife that's about 2 inches, I guess, tall, and then the thin ones are just sort of steak knives, so they're somewhere between 1/2 inch and 3/4. So they're pretty narrow knives. But yeah, so the convex has been working for that stuff.
Like that. Anybody else?
I've always.
We have
Go ahead, Sam.
we have certain knives that I allow to be used in the kitchen. So, like my camp cook set doesn't get used at the house. That is strictly for camping. But
That makes sense.
the large powder is probably the most used knife that we have in my mother's collection at the house.
I think same at home. I think Elaine, that is probably our most used one too. The large powder just seems like it comes out of the drawer all the time. Yeah.
I really want to try a large Northern Hunter because when I'm camping, I use this little small one for everything, kitchen related, and it's fantastic. So I want to try a large one at home here.
Mikey, what have you guys been using on your casserole stuff?
Usually on the casseroles, we just use a wooden spatula that somebody made for me. But knife-wise, I have a large powder, and then I have one of our old Christmas knives that are both flat ground that I use in the kitchen a lot. And I used to use that Christmas knife a lot, but it needs to be sharpened now. So I've been favoring the large powder more.
Oh, that was the other thing. Because I have the sequester time.
What?
Well, relax. I sharpen.
Quit yelling at us.
Well, just
Everyone's so excited.
like, hey. Well, because I know, being the knife maker, you think all our knives at home are sharp. Not so much.
No.
The truth. That's not really true. They are now because
Yes,
I have this time on my hands. They are all sharp now. She is
Good
happy.
job. Good job.
I mean, to the point, she walked up one night, like came out of the kitchen. I was doing something in the family room, and she goes, "These are sharp." I was like, well, we didn't take the edge off. We'll put the edge on them. Yeah. No, because you get in that habit. It's like when you're using them at night, you go, man, I got to take this to the shop, sharpen it, right? And then you put it back in the drawer after you clean it. And then the next time you get it out, man, I really got to sharpen this knife.
Yep.
So, but with this free time, they all got put in a box and got sharpened. Yay. I'm happy.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm happy.
Very nice.
Dig it.
So this is the knife that I was speaking about.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Was that the Christmas one?
Yep,
So now, do you like that handle?
I do.
You like? Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it more round or more up and down?
it's
then?
pretty round.
Okay, so it's kind of bushcrafter-esque.
Yes.
Yeah. That's cool. And that works good on your kitchen stuff.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
But the large powder, I like the handle on that one too. I don't generally hold this handle. I hold the blade like most people who work knives in the kitchen tend to do. So.
Right on. Scott, you got a preference?
The large powder is what we got for Christmas, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm using as well.
Yeah.
And now that I have my work sharp, I can actually sharpen the thing in the garage and keep it nice.
Have you been playing with that?
Yes. I have sharpened things just with the Ken Onion. It's the Ken Onion version of the work sharp. And I'll have to, I should bring that up. Next time we do the class, if we want to focus on sharpening or something, I'll bring it up and have it as a prop. But if you have ever seen that thing, it has a guide that slides down and you take your knife and draw it through. All right. So I tried that once, didn't care for that, took that off. Now I just use it like a very small version of what we have at the shop.
Okay.
That works better for me. And you can rotate that thing and click it into a few different positions. So I have one marked for sharpening, and I turn the unit around, and so the belt is coming at me just like at the shop, and I can get a burr. Right. And then I click it a couple clicks this way, and I put the leather strop on, and now it's going away from me, and I can strop it. That works. Okay. That works pretty good. And then I bought the knife grinding attachment for that machine. So now you take that head off, put this one on, screw in this little wheel, and now it uses a little bit larger belt. There's a couple different areas you can work from, but now with that one, since the distance is the longest,
right?
I've been grinding with the belt going away from me, not like we do at the shop. Okay. Just because that's kind of the way the machine is. It still works.
Can you still see the burr from grinding away? You can?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Because you're on top? Is it because you're on top?
It's kind of angled this way toward me.
Okay, gotcha.
But since the belt is going away on that version, I can watch the burr form Whereas the other one, because the belt is attacking the edge,
Yeah.
I can watch the burr go away.
Okay.
Hopefully that makes sense. So, I got it in my head, get the burr the whole way. So I can do it either direction. It seems to work. If I turn the machine around and face it toward me, it kind of has a plastic platen, but it doesn't touch the belt. So I'm going to experiment with a crappy knife and push into it and get on that platen and flex the belt enough and see how that works, because then the belt will be coming at me. And there's no leather belt. There could be one out there. I don't have one for the bigger grinder attachment. So I usually work through a few grits and then put the other original head back on so I can get to the leather strop and zing that up.
Do you like that power strop? You like that?
Yeah, it works pretty good. Yeah.
Okay.
And it came even with a little tube of white rouge.
Are you clamping that down somehow to work on it? No.
Nope.
It's heavy enough.
It's got rubber feet on it,
Okay.
and it works pretty good because you'll know that you're pressing too hard because the thing will rock or move.
Yeah.
But if you just kind of take your time, so far it's not been a problem.
Okay. Right on.
Works pretty well. But like I said, I'm using it without the guide. I could see if you have never sharpened something and you're like, okay, I want it 10 degrees or 20 degrees or whatever. Their little guide system is made so that when you put your knife in, here's the belt, here's the knife, and there's the guide plate. If you push too hard, the guide thing kind of springs over and moves, and you can tell you're putting too much pressure on it.
Okay.
So if you've never sharpened a knife and just use what is in the instructions, I'm sure it'll work fine. But if you have taken a knife class or watched any of the sharpening videos, take the guide off and just use it like a miniature grinder, like we have.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think it works best.
Cool.
Cowboys says that Red Lion has the bigger leather belts for that.
Oh, I see that. Oh, okay.
So
I'll look into that.
Remember how I was saying last time talking about sharpening brought it to my mind, saying that I saw a video of someone else working on a window, sharpening on a window?
Yep.
It was Ray Mears.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, he actually recommended that in addition to a whetstone in the field. So it was a pretty cool video.
I've seen him in one video sharpening in the woods, but he had his whole kit with him in a tub and 3 whetstones, and I've watched that video. I don't know if I saw the one with the car window, but
Was it a Land?
Cool. Was it a Land Rover?
It was.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool.
He's in the UK. All right, cool.
Hey, Mikey.
Yes, sir.
I see Doug. Was it Doug? Said that I got a big window.
Mm-hmm.
It's about time. I got a big window. I didn't realize that until Doug goes, hey, I see LT got a big window. Thanks for pointing it out, Doug. I'm looking right at the darn thing. I didn't realize I'm a big window this week.
It's all based on how you call it, like when you answer the Skype call. The first person gets the big window.
I'm on my phone.
Yeah.
Am I little?
You're little.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So I still don't understand it, but whatever. I'm big window. Yay.
Oh, I see. On the feed, yeah. That's your big window.
Now, if we had a sixth person, we would all be the same size, right? Is that how that would?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. Dig it. Right on. I like it. I see Robert Simpson join. Rob, haven't seen you in a while, man. I hope everything is doing well for you. Glad to have you on board, man. Thanks for popping in. We got cool stuff to talk about today. All right. Hey, getting on with where we at. Grind. Nobody has any questions right now, so we're going to move on. We were talking about grinds and different things. Oh, Bill LaRue's on, too. What's up, Longbow? Yeah, just waiting on the... Wake up, Sam. I see he's telling you to wake up.
I see that.
Yeah. Is that... okay.
It's this non-caffeinated tea.
No, it must be your turn
That's
to
dumb.
talk. Must be your turn to talk then, buddy.
I guess so.
All right, ready to go.
Is it
So how's the
iced or
Kydex
hot?
treating
I didn't hear what both of you said at the same time.
Is it
All right.
iced or hot?
It is hot tea. It's peach.
Mm.
you? Which is pretty tasty. I didn't hate it. Yeah, it was pretty good stuff. But so how's Kydex World treating you, buddy?
Good.
Yeah. Now, what are you doing to your truck?
What am I doing to my truck? I'm currently researching new rear shocks and extended brake lines so I can get the full articulation out of my new leaf springs.
There you go.
Yeah, for those of you who haven't seen his truck yet, it's pretty raked. But in a good way.
The
In a
wrong
good
direction.
No. He got-
No,
he
we
got-
got-
Oh, I haven't seen it then since the new leaves. Okay,
man.
okay.
Then I will send you a picture, my friend.
Yeah, because
Yes.
you'd think he put a 2-inch lift on the truck. No kidding.
Oh,
As
really?
long as it doesn't go down the road doing like that. Like,
No, we're good now.
Okay, good.
Does that mean we can put all the stuff back in it now?
Yeah, he can carry
I am
stuff.
actually currently rebuilding the drawer system and fixing everything and painting it. And it'll be
Dang.
going back in soon enough.
Cool.
There
Did
you go,
it.
Scott. I sent you a picture.
Okay.
So you can check that out.
Did you get the Deaver leaf springs?
The Old Man Emu heavy
Oh.
duty pack.
Oh, okay.
No, it looks. It does. It looks really, really good. You'll have to check it out.
Let me look.
Right on.
Stimulus build.
Yeah,
No, that was pre.
Holy cow!
Ah.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
He was building a
So
hot rod net.
I know if he had a pair of slicks on that, the back of that thing, it's pretty cool though. Got a good rake to it.
I
I
don't
like
turn a
it.
cam for less than 50. All right.
What movie? What movie?
I don't know. Am I supposed to know?
Return to Macon County.
Who said it? Don Johnson or Nick Nolte?
Don Johnson.
Man, what a good movie.
It can be a good movie if 2 out of the 5 people have seen it.
Nick just watched Roadhouse.
Yeah.
He's got
Yeah.
years to catch up.
Yeah, he's decades behind.
I still haven't watched Roadhouse.
Okay, one of you, have everybody seen Young Frankenstein?
Yes.
Yeah, that's actually a good movie.
Yeah, they all are good.
Oh, wow.
to watch. Jeez, that was a little bit rough, but whatever.
Coming
Hey,
from the guy that
looks-
likes
looks
Jeremiah
good, Sammy.
Johnson.
Yeah,
Oh, did you get the other pictures I sent?
Yeah, looks good,
Uh,
buddy.
yeah, his truck looks good. So hey,
Keep them jerry cans full. That ought to weight the back end. Okay, sorry, LT.
no, you're fine. You're fine. Hey, let's talk about grinding. I don't know if everybody, if you haven't been to one of the classes, I don't know if they know exactly how we do grind. We grind edge up, as probably a fair amount of people do grind edge up. But we grind edge up, and we scribe our center line. So if we have a piece of steel, let's say it's an 1/8 inch, we have a scribe that we put into one of our vices that we scribe center lines. And we always do 2 center lines, right, Nick?
Right?
So that gives you true center. And then we will take it and we will rough grind down to those 2 lines that we put on steel so that we have, and it's still thick enough to do a heat treat on. Because if we send them inch too thin, we end up having problems with what we call bacon. And bacon is a situation where if you get down to this edge on a too thin knife and it gets heat treated, you get a little bit of waviness, and we call that bacon. So we leave them thick enough to where we don't get the bacon, and then we'll do final grinding coming in. When I was taught to grind, I was taught to grind on a 8-inch wheel on doing hollow grind. And the technique was, let me see if I can stand up without yanking my earbuds out and get the camera going. The technique was pretty much,
It looks like Sam's head is on LT's body on my screen.
anyway.
Like it lines up perfect.
That is
Yeah,
weird.
move a couple inches the one way.
LT, move your arm up, and then Sammy, you scratch your nose. That'll be hilarious.
Left or right?
Other arm.
Okay. Yeah, wrong arm.
Okay.
All right, go ahead,
Sam-
squirrel. Sorry.
Sam on 3. Ready, Sam? 1, 2, 3. Okay.
That's
Wrong
a
arm.
delay.
See
That's
what
a
he's
delay.
doing.
That's all.
Okay. So anyhow,
Anyway.
so the way I was taught is you
Oh,
anchor
boy.
yourself. You anchor yourself here. Now, my grinder is set for my height. So if someone wants a free grind on my grinder, we'd either have to jack it up or take it down. Like if Nick was going to grind on it, we'd have to bring the grinder down, and we may have to bring it up.
LT's
Actually,
grinder has a lift kit.
Andy and I might be able to grind on the same grinder. We're about the same height. But anyway, you anchor it on your stomach. And what I used to do is I'd make a fist around the knife like so. The other hand back edge of this knife actually would rock across this knuckle. And Sam and I have had this talk before. I come up with systems and I have counting methods which teach me how to do something so that I can maintain that same thing over and over and over. So when I grind, I have a counting system. So how long does it take me to get a 4-inch blade across a 2-inch belt at 3,400 RPMs or whatever? You know, I get these things in my head and I start doing that. So I anchor my feet against the floor so they're not going to move. Everything that moves is going to be in my upper body. Or I'm sorry, in my hips. So this, I make a fist around that, lay that across like so, and then you find a place on your body, or on, at the time, would be on my leather vest where my hands are going to go. So like if I was grinding right now, I would set this pinky knuckle on top of my belt buckle, put my hand here. And the reason I did that, so that every time I grabbed the new knife, I would be in the same place on that wheel. So remember, I'm thinking about an 8-inch wheel. On a platen, it's not that big of a issue because you have some distance here. But if you're going to work up against the wheel, and that's kind of like thumb scallops, Nick, and I know you know this, when you're doing thumb scallops, you have a certain thing, like I put my finger on a certain part of the brace so that I have that place for that thumb scallop to go in every time. Well, grinding, freehand grinding is basically the same way. You find those points and you get that grip, you develop that grip so that it's every time, so if I switch and I do the other side, I do this hand the same way. It wraps exactly the same, goes across this knuckle. The pinky will drop into my belt buckle, and then my body will go like this. Now, as you're moving the knife across, you have a 2-inch wide belt. Well, you got a 4-inch knife. Knife makers know what is called the 2-inch mark, and that is where you come across your belt and you get to the end and you go back this way. Before you can transition back, that revolution, that belt continues to move. And you will get a mark 2 inches out here if you're not careful. That will be a ripple that then you have to chase the rest of the time you're grinding. You're chasing that doggone ripple, right? So you have to get very good at pressure, time, and the time it takes you to get across that belt, the pressure, and your angles. Because some of it's a little bit of the freehand. I know the other day Scott talked about when he's sharpening, bringing across and doing a slight turn to catch the tip. Grinding is exactly the same way. You're going to come across that belt for the majority of that blade, keeping it flat, and then as the blade turns up to the tip, everything changes. You can't just draw it straight through, because up here at the top it'll be thin, but right here you can see the thickness here. If my blade starts coming away, the tip of this knife is going to be thick all the way through. So you get into a habit of doing, if I'm going to show you from the side, let's say I'm pulling straight, and when I get right here, this is what would happen to the knife. It would do a little bit. Nick, can you see what I'm like? You understand that?
You're a little blurry on my screen, so it's hard for me to tell. But yes, I know what you're saying.
But I can't see it, so I'm just wondering, am I doing it right?
I think you're doing it right, yeah.
Okay. So you're wanting to go this way a little bit with the knife. And that's how you freehand that tip, and you get that tip the thickness that you want. Because a couple things you have to remember. Sharpening is the same kind of thing. It's a time tension thing. You can burn that last 16th of that tip quickly, can't you, Scott, when you're
for sure.
Not paying attention.
Now that's true whether you're sharpening on a flat Scandi or convex, or particularly a Scandi when we're actually grinding those to sharp.
Something LT taught me way long ago was that when you're sharpening, never bring the tip past the halfway point of the belt. And I was surprised to read in the instructions, because I actually read the manual for the Ken Onion sharpener. It says, don't go past midway on the belt. I'm like, I mean, I know Ken Onion is awesome knife maker. I know he knows what the heck he's doing. But to read that somewhere else, and I wonder how many people might have taken our class, listened to me say that, and read it in a book like, Scooter did? Yeah, that was right. It's true. Because even though whether it's a 2-inch wide belt or that 1/2-inch wide belt on that machine, when you are on this flat portion, grinding or sharpening mainly, and you got all this big portion, that's a much bigger heat sink. And as you get to the apex of the turn and then this tip, boy, you are focusing all that belt
Pressure and angle. Yep.
on that wee little piece of metal. So if you go past halfway, like, what? Yeah, I did. Oh,
Yeah,
you'll burn it.
exactly.
So
Oh,
go
And just like
halfway
with
and pull
buffing,
straight
as you
toward
come across, your angle is changing
Yeah.
as you go. So you're becoming, much more oblique to it there as you go.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. So I mean, grinding freehand, that's a one of those things you got to spend a lot of time in front of a grinder. Number one. But what I would encourage everybody to do is come up with these hard and fast rules. And I know Sam can back me up on this. When I was showing him the time it takes to grind a knife, it was put into not necessarily count 1, 2, 3, 4, but it was by the number of passes. And by a certain number of passes, you start to learn how much pressure you need per pass so that you can get it in those numbers. So I believe when I first started showing him, it was like, okay, pass number 1 is to hog it off, and that's across and back. Pass number 2, you set the shoulder. Pass number 3, you set the edge. Then you're allowed a 4th and 5th just to touch it up, because you have to pull it back because you're grinding blind a lot of times. That's the other thing. The belt's here in front of me, and I'm grinding here. All I can see is this edge. I can't see this back shoulder. If I'm doing a Scandi or a saber, well, even a flat, though, you need to know where the top of your belt is. You can't see that, so you're kind of doing it by feeling by eye, so you're going to have to pull it off. So I was teaching him maximum of 5 passes per side. And what that does is that instills you to put enough pressure onto your knife and onto that belt to actually do something. Otherwise, you'll be there 30 minutes later grinding that same dad-burned knife. Am I right?
I agree with most of that, other than I was only allotted 4 passes.
Well, you're my nephew. There's a difference. I expect more out of you. You sure I didn't give you a 5th?
I'm pretty sure it was 4. I might have took the 5th and not told you. But.
Right. No, but and if you can start setting yourself up like that, and I know on Nick's end of things, on finishing, he knows that I count left and right. If I go 3 turns on this side, I go 3 turns on that side. What that does is help you with some symmetry. When you get the same amount on this side and on that side, it's a pressure thing. Because you can chase your tail down a rabbit hole all day long.
Well, it's just like with sharpening on a stone. A lot of people are familiar with the concept of taking 1 pass going forward, taking 1 pass going back, or switching hands or whatever. It's the same thing as what he's talking about there, where what you do to the one side, you want to even it on the other. You want to maintain centered edge. Same thing with the handle. You want to maintain a symmetrical line or curve or shape or whatever. So by doing what he's saying, same thing on both sides, you get that.
Yep.
When those sorry,
Go ahead, Scott. No, you're fine. Go ahead.
When those guys, I can say on the sharpening end of it, when they are doing all of that grinding the same, uniformly, correctly. Now, when I go to sharpen a knife, or you, Nick, or Adam, it's literally, if it's ground thin enough and the geometry is good, which 90% of the time, spot on. 2 passes on the platen, I move up. 2 passes on the slack, and I'm ready to buff.
Right.
So all of that work ahead of time allows me a 30 seconds to sharpen a knife.
Right.
That includes checking it on paper.
Because you yourself know you can create that whole rabbit hole thing and start going 1, 2, 3, and all of a sudden you're doing 10 times a side. Now remember, every time that he goes across that knife with a belt, it gets a little bit shorter. Even if it's microscopic and you can't see it, in order to sharpen something has to go away. Steel has to come off of that knife, and eventually you find yourself chasing a tail. I always had this thing I used to say, turning buoys into butter knives. That's what that's what you do all day long. So just exactly like Scott says, come up with that number. And if it's a comfortable 3 to 5, it's probably way safe. I just like him, about 3 passes, man. If you're not getting it in 3, get your wife's old kitchen knives out and start practicing, because if you're spending 5,
something is wrong.
15 passes, you need to change something.
Not enough pressure, not enough grit, time to change a belt. Now, we sharpen with worn out 120 grit.
Yeah.
There's a little shop secret. All of the videos, and including that work sharp thing, it's got, 120 up to 6,000 grit. We use one belt, and I adjust that with pressure and time.
Right.
And
then,
of course, we can't spend all day sharpening one knife. I got to knock out 50 knives to sharpen. I got to do it in 30 seconds. And it comes out good.
Right on. Mikey, we have anybody have any questions about anything?
Yeah, we have a question from Robert. He wants to know, back when we formed Blind Horse Knives, who was making knives first before we formed the company?
I would think what happened is I ended up getting a kit knife way back in the day and putting it together, and went to work, and we were talking. Dan and I were talking. I would say we probably started hobby making maybe around the same time. I went full time a year before we created Blind Horse, as a full time maker. I lived near RW, so I probably had a lot more of that training.
Yeah.
And then we kind of,
Sweet.
I think we probably started hobby making then again. It was
There you go.
a long time ago, but probably about the same time.
There's one from that time.
That's one of my very first fighters. Yeah, right.
There's no way you can see the stamp on here, but this has the inverted stamp and everything.
That is a pre-Blind Horse fighter. That is
right.
Yeah. So I guess to answer the question, we probably started about the same time messing with kit knives, and I think I told the story where sometimes we just go to gun shows and buy those knives that you could see at night. You could get 100 of them for $10 and bring them home. Now, this was actually a cool way to learn how to do stuff. Bring them home, tear the handles off, reshape, regrind the knives, put on new handles, and resharpen them. It was a great learning method for $5. It was one way to do it. So, but as far as going full time, I left the stair shop and started at least a full year ahead of the Blind Horse days, and then we went on to form Blind Horse after that. Okay. So I hope that answered the question.
Yeah. We have another question from Paul. When sharpening on the belts in the shop and when facing the belt, which way is the belt moving, and do you hold the blade edge up or down?
Okay.
The belt is moving toward you. So
like a waterfall.
North to south. Yeah, like a waterfall. And the edge is up. And so I call that I say that the belt is attacking the edge and making your burr. That's how we do it. And I've had this finger calibrated to 21.3 degrees. So when I have that on my steady rest, I know
0.37 degrees.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Don't forget.
Too,
it's that
because I change hands.
Precise.
I'm ambidextrous. Yes. Edge up, belt toward you. And when you strop, it's the other way. Strop away from the edge. Right?
Yeah.
Never. You will only strop the wrong way one time.
Why not?
Because you will ruin your strop.
and probably
throw the knife into your shin.
Into your leg, the ground, your face, the wall.
Yeah.
Yes. Just like on a stone, draw the knife toward you and cut into the stone, and then when you strap on your leather belt, it's away from you.
Oh, that's a good analogy. Exactly.
Same thing.
Exactly the same thing. And that is, I have seen people sharpen edge down. I have seen it. Bruce Gillespie was one of those guys that could do it. Man, I just couldn't do it. Again, part of the reason we do it that way, that's the way I learned. I got to be honest. And then when showing Scott and Nick and all the guys,
that's the way I learned.
Yeah, that's like, why do we grind the way we grind it? Because that's the way I learned how to grind, and we just modified those techniques over the year. Sam probably has modified it even beyond what me and Nick did, because he spends most of the time on the grinding of the knife side of things, right, Sam? You probably changed one or two things.
Only one or two.
Well, you better change them back, mister.
I'm sure we'll change them back here soon enough.
So, Sam, do you have anything to add to the grinding that we were talking about? You're not allowed to say no, and you can't Ready to go.
Well, I just did one of those things.
I know.
So what if I say yes?
Okay. Add, please. We're listening.
Now, what am I supposed to add? Because I'm not real sure where you want me to go.
No, on the grinding side of things.
Wherever you want, baby, go.
And your
I don't
sweet
know what-
spot.
I don't know
Well,
what you want me to.
Walk us through one of your grinds. I mean, I kind of freehand ground. So now
In
you're
the back
gonna
of the
take
garage.
them onto the you know how we set up and do jig grinding. Platinum.
Well, I guess I can go over the Scandi more than anything, as that's most of the jig grinding.
Okay.
Would be the 11.5 degrees on the platen in our jig with a jig card. 36 grit, 80 grit, 120, the 320 grit, and depending on whether or not it gets polished, we'll go up to a 600.
An oiled 600.
Yes, a heavily oiled 600.
So like on a Genesis, right?
Yeah, Genesis.
Okay.
And
Now-
the oil that we use primarily for that is strike hold, which is
strike
it
hold.
actually, what is it, a CLDP scooter? I think you know what
The
it is.
strike hold?
Yeah.
Um,
It says on the bottle, but I don't have a bottle with me. But anyway,
I can't remember.
don't really get it on your skin. But it's great
Yeah.
for belts because it keeps them from getting clogged.
Yep.
So that's part of why it helps with the polishing process so well. But continue, Sam. Sorry.
Bubby, you were going to ask a question.
So on the Genesis, because that is our flagship model, we set out to do a polished Scandi. Now on our, let's say on the GNS or generally any other Scandi, we don't do what we call the polished Scandi edge on them. That's a little bit. It's just like 1 or 2 steps back, right?
Yeah,
And-
they'll stop at a 320.
And partly depending on the steel, because some steels don't
True.
take a polish.
Yeah, like
Like
3V. 3V, right? 3V is one of them. I told you about the orange peel on the D2, right? Yeah, man, that's a son of a gun to get polished too. It almost, Nick, you know those stone wash looks?
Yep.
Just think, that's how D2, just think of that.
But shiny.
brighter. Yeah, right.
Oh,
That's
yeah. I know
kinda-
exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
That's kind of like the orange peel effect to it. So,
Nice.
Sam, on when you're doing the Scandis, when you go, let's say because we rough grind everything soft. So
Yeah.
now let's say Nick takes it down, gets the heat treat, gets it all set up, and he hands it back to you, and you're ready to grind. What do you have to be conscious of as you're going through now that the blade has been hardened? What kind of processes would you go through?
You have to be very cautious of the heat and getting the knife too hot so
Okay.
you don't change the temper. It's a lot of dipping in the water, depending on how good the belt is. Sometimes it's once every couple passes. Sometimes it's every pass.
Yeah. So that is even on sharpening sometimes when we were talking about the amount of time spent on something, you don't want to get that edge too hot.
Yeah.
correct.
So
And I think that's one area where freehand grinding actually sometimes is a little bit not superior, but more informative, I guess, to the person that's doing the grinding. Because when you're holding it, and LT, I know I've heard you say this before, you're much more aware of the temperature of the metal. So if it's too hot for you to hold, it's too hot. So you get a lot quicker feedback, where when it's in a jig, like how we normally grind our production knives and everything, you have to be more attentive about checking your temperature. And like Sam's saying, dipping every pass or every other pass. So one of those, pluses and minuses of both processes there.
You could probably let it get warmer than you think, though. If you've taken one of our knife classes, you've witnessed this. But when we heat treat with the torch kit at the shop, as I'm showing everybody, you can watch the color change of that metal. And when you are heat treating, obviously taking it to critical, non-magnetic, dunking it, getting that set. But when you go back to temper it, the coloring is how you figure out what is going on, because we're trying to teach people how to make a knife with much less tools, and we're using an oxygen acetylene torch kit. So when you're going to heat that metal up, you can see it go straw color and a little brown. That's okay. When it starts getting into blue, time to back off. And if you go past blue into clear almost again, It's
Right.
almost like you've gone too far. You might have to start over. But when you're grinding it, if it's just a little brown or straw, that's probably okay. Wouldn't
Yeah,
go any much further than that, though.
But it
Exactly.
doesn't take
Right,
long
right.
for that brown to turn
Yeah,
into a dark
And
color.
when
Yeah.
you heat steel, you have to remember whether you're heating it through friction on the belts or through direct heat with a torch like that, you have to remember that metal has momentum. So it's absorbing
Correct.
that heat, and you might see brown or straw and be like, oh, okay, that's all right. I can take one more pass. But by the time you've done that, now you've pushed it way past that heat into blue or clear.
yeah,
So be aware that things keep going. It's like when you cook eggs. I heard a chef say this one time. If it's done in the pan, that means it's going to be overcooked on the plate. So it's the same kind of thing. If you heat it up and you're like, well, I don't need to dip it, I can keep going, that's when you're going to mess it up.
yeah. No, I totally agree with you on that. And that kind of, you could take that back to where we talked about the counting.
For sure.
As Sam was saying, as soon as you say to yourself, I can go one more time across this belt
You've gone
without
too
dipping.
far.
It's too late.
Yeah. Because here's the thing. You might be like, man, I am
Nope.
tired of dipping this thing in the water.
I'll be right back. Hold on.
Is your bread done?
Keep going.
Wait for me. I'll be right back.
I gotta get my bread.
I got to get my bread out of the oven. But what Sam was saying about dipping the water, because you're going to be, I promise you, if you're grinding knives, you are going to get to that point where you go, I can go one more time. I can go one more pass. I guarantee you're going to get there, because I've been there more than 100 times, and I know better. And I still think I can do it sometimes. But you say, oh, it takes so long to dip this knife and then bring it back up. Just think of this. You burn the temper out of it.
that's no good.
Yeah, so take that half a second, dip the darn thing.
Yep.
Right? I mean, that's my take. Especially because you got to think, when you're grinding the knife across the body of the knife, all of up in here, you got a lot of metal. You still got all this heat sink. As you get near the tip, let's say like this, you got all this heat sink here. Well, you don't got all that heat sink out here.
Mm-hmm.
So the more you get closer to that tip, the same amount of time spent back here, if you spend that exact same amount of time right here on this tip, it's going to cost you on a hardened knife.
Yep.
You have to find that, and you have to get used to it. And again, that's where it goes back to the grinder time. Just put yourself in front
Experience.
of a grinder.
Well, a lot of times that's why when I freehand, I'll put my finger out at the tip, because if it's too hot for my finger, then it's too hot.
Absolutely. No, that's a great analogy there. Mikey, do we have some other questions while Nick's out making bread?
No, that's it for right now.
Okay. Mike, did you have something? I think I saw something about a stabilized question. Why don't you go over stabilized handle? Like, what is stabilized, in case some of these guys may not understand what we mean?
Sure. Basically the process with stabilizing is to basically suck the amount of air that is in the knife out and replace it with a stabilized epoxy resin. So what we'll do is we'll take the wood and we'll dry it to get the moisture content below 6%. Once that's dry, we put it in a vacuum chamber with some stabilizing fluid. We vacuum that at negative 29 atmospheres for usually about 8 hours, and then we leave it to soak in the material for another 16 hours. Then we take it out and we cure that stabilizing resin in an oven for a couple hours till it hardens up. And that basically removes the ability of the wood to swell and contract as easily as it would if it were not stabilized. So we take some of the environmental factors out of the knife that way.
It also allows it to accept sanding differently too.
Yes.
So sanding and or polishing.
Mm-hmm.
So whereas if it was unstabilized, you'd probably have to put tons and tons of coats of like true oil or tung oil on it to get it up to a satin sheen. And then probably have to seal it with some polymers or something just to get a polish. Where the stabilized stuff, you can pretty much come off of your grinder and go to a buffing wheel and get a polish or very, very near mirror style polish, right?
Yes, yeah, and you can also color the wood. So you can take a regular piece of maple, you can tint the stabilizing material, and you can make blue, red, pretty much any color you can think of. They have it all.
Right. No, that's good. And you can stabilize more than just wood. People have stabilized antler.
Mm-hmm.
They have stabilized bone. What else? Pine cones.
Yep.
We've got some pine cone material in stabilized before.
That's a big thing right now on the internet. Is people are taking those resin kits and basically making their own scale material out of everything you can think of. From
Right.
nuts and bolts to pine cones to barley, hops. I've seen all kinds of crazy stuff. Shredded up dollar bills.
I saw cigar rings the other day and Legos. And
Legos are awesome.
Fruit Loops.
Wait.
Really,
Into a knife handle or something different?
Nope.
into a knife handle.
knife
The
handles.
cigar rings looked awesome.
Really?
Because they were laid in the bottom, and then the resin was clear over top. It looked great.
That's interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Colored
I like
pencils
that.
is another big one. Old skateboards. Yeah.
Well,
Anything you can imagine.
skateboard material by itself would probably be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but then
Yeah.
they take different skateboard decks and they stack them together and then they form them all in resin, so you get all these really unique colors and flavors and stuff. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, that is.
There's actually a guy here in Steubenville, our local area here, that does that. He makes all kinds of different things out of broken skateboards. In fact, I think that's what he calls his little operation is like board recovery or board angel, something like that. And he takes them, laminates them basically, and then he's made like wine corks.
Right.
So like replaceable wine corks, bunches of other things. It's
I saw
cool
a really
looking
awesome guitar made out of old skateboards.
stuff. Ah.
Hmm.
I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
I saw the colored pencil guitar
Yeah.
where the guys did that. I thought that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, there's so many things that you can do. That's like steels. I mean, look how many different steels can be hardened and turned into knife stuff. I mean, there's a flavor out there that would make everybody happy, I think. So
For sure.
Yeah, I like that idea. Good deal. Mikey, any other questions floating?
No, but just a comment that I think we can expand upon a little bit. Dwayne said, "How many knives have you guys ruined in the learning process?"
Thousands.
Yes,
A lot.
a
lot.
And the thing that always kind of pops in my head when somebody asks that question is, I always tell them it's easy to make one knife. It's really hard to make 1,000 knives that look the same.
Oh, absolutely.
Or two.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Remember my statement earlier, Dwayne, about the buoys and the butter knives?
Yeah, we got a whole bunch of butter knives.
that fighter that Nich has turned out that way because of a mistake. And then what happened, I was at the Blade Show and I think it was 7 Point Photography took a picture of the knife. And it ended up going into tactical knives, and then it became a thing. It became more than just the one-off. It was one of those, I was under my front porch, and I was doing this thing, and I had a boo-boo in the knife, and I went, well, what am I going to do now? I was like, well, let me just change the whole thing up. Started grinding this, that, and the other way, and I was like, oh, that turned out really cool. That's a kind of cool fighter. And then I started continuing with it, so on and so forth. Nich, does that one have the threaded tang to where I screwed the screws like they should be?
Yes, I believe so. I think
look at it.
This one is threaded.
Okay, so that one, you can tell because the holes will be slightly off from side to side, where the bolts go into where I actually threaded the steel.
Okay.
So put your
It
finger.
looks a little off side to side. Yes.
Yes. So that's
I've never taken these scales off, but I was told that it was one of those ones.
what I'm saying. And let me tell
Do
you
it
how
now
long-
on camera.
Let me tell you how long.
Hold on, I get my parts. I have tools.
It takes a long time to thread 6 holes because there was 3 bolts on each side, and I didn't at the time have the ferrules.
I'm kidding, Nick. Don't worry about it. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm taking
Well,
it apart.
I had to thread all of those
I
darn
keep
holes.
this in my backpack.
Yeah, LT.
So I had to thread all of those darn holes. That was a pain.
That whole thing right there reminded me of another one of my favorite LT-isms, where if you make a mistake, make sure before you show it to somebody that it's a mistake you want to make a few hundred more times,
Yeah.
because you never know.
Now
You never know.
that's exactly how that happened. Now the funny part of that is not my original. That is Bruce Gillespie, one of my mentors. I was at might have been a gun show, and he was there, and he had just got a knife in Blade magazine. This was years ago, and I said, "Oh man, it must be really cool." That was before I ever had anything in a magazine, and I said, "Man, it must be really cool to get a knife in a magazine." And he looks at me and he puts his hand on my shoulder and he says, "Son, when you get a knife photograph for a magazine, make sure you like that knife a lot, because when it gets published and people start calling and want that made again, you're going to have to make that thing 11, 12, 15, 25 times." And he just smiled. And I thought, so I passed that on to Nick. It's like, when you modify something, make sure you enjoyed the process, because if you just did it the one time and you're like, "Boy, that was hard, but how cool is that?" And the guy goes, "Yeah, do it to mine," and you go, "No, it was hard. It was really hard." Yeah, that's funny.
Somebody commented on there and wrote, "Patch knives are just happy accidents."
No, yeah.
Sometimes.
The old saw blade patch knife, man. Every one of those was a different look. Because again, I literally would just draw them on a piece of steel with a Sharpie.
You still do that? Who are you
A
kidding?
little busy here.
That's true. I know one day me and Mike were doing some. That's how, not the powder, but what's the Packer and the other one? Remember
Packer
that?
and the Companion.
The Companion.
He had these
Yes,
couple pieces of steel, and I had a couple knife lengths laying around. And we laid them down there. I traced the blade with a Sharpie and the handle. Didn't like it, and just took the Sharpie and started drawing on this piece of steel and went, "Okay, here, cut those out." And that's how the Packer and the Companion came about. They were just literally two pieces of steel we had laying around. And he said, "We need to make something out of these." So that's how that. And then, just like that, they turned into a model, and we now make it.
Yep.
So it's a good thing we kind of like them. So that worked. Right on. But yeah, I like making the patch knives. Those were a bunch of fun. Nick, why do you look like you're doing a science project?
He's taking your knife apart.
I am. Another shameless product plug. If you guys haven't heard of Weha Tools, they're out of Germany. They make some really fantastic tools. This is a great one. I forget which model this is in particular.
That looks like some weapon from Star Wars that you would shoot.
Well, see, it's got all the different bits.
Look at that.
Right around the collar.
That's their
Not
tech
the
driver.
Ammo.
Is actually, you can take this out and expand it, so far, and take the little collar off, change it out. It's wonderful.
Huh.
So,
that is kind of cool.
Okay.
but yes, I'm taking your knife apart. It does look like this one actually. I don't know if you can see up close. It looks like it has barrels, but I can't
that
tell
one has.
right now.
Yeah, it probably does.
Standoffs.
Well,
There you go.
if the bolts are directly across from each other, yes. If they're slightly, that's how you can tell.
I can't really tell,
Can
to be perfectly honest, just yet.
Nick, you
Well,
probably have
yeah.
3 flashlights on you. Look in there.
He's not wrong. I do have another.
You have your own light. I wonder which light I got laying around here today.
I got my OLED.
What is this one? I have the Surefire 6P.
Ow.
It
Oh,
turned
you're
on.
antique.
One of my antique Surefires. I like the Surefires, man. I got the other one in my pocket. Hey, Sam will bet you $1 it lights. Now, I haven't checked. This is a chance. Talk to me.
I think I'm
Okay.
gonna pass.
Nothing.
Nothing.
You got nothing.
You got
Oh.
Oh!
Yeah,
it's like
baby.
it's like a candle coming on.
A candle would be faster.
Wow, that was hurtful, Mike. Anyway, yes, it is a standoff in there.
Okay, so that one
There
is a
you go.
standoff. Well, it
Yep.
just means it was set. Now, the reason they have standoffs because I got tired of threading that steel.
I believe you. I would have.
Yep.
I would not have enjoyed that.
Yeah.
All the threading on the folders, at least the 10 that are out there in the world,
Right.
was done with a device called a Tapmatic in our mill, which we started to do them by hand with a
most
little.
of them are done with that. Some of them
Yeah.
are done by hand.
Some
Yeah.
of them we had already done. Some of them with the standard tap jig, And let me tell you, that is probably one of the most frustrating jobs on the whole planet, because the 256 screws that we use in there, they are teeny, 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 tiny,
Yeah.
and the tap is very, very fragile. And
I almost got hit by one of
But-
those taps blowing up.
but if you get yourself a Tapmatic, it is well worth the investment. And I've never broken a tap in it yet, I don't think. It's amazing. It's a wonderful product, and it takes about 10 seconds to tap 6 holes.
Oh, it was magical. Yeah, we were. How long did it used to take us to tap one liner? Remember, we were keeping. It was like 20 minutes, wasn't
It's
it?
45
20
minutes total for all the holes.
For to
For
tap
one
all-
side.
That
One
was
side.
tapping. Now we're talking about a liner that's what 1/16 thick. Titanium.
Depending,
Titanium.
yeah.
Yeah.
Titanium.
Man, and I promise you're going to break a tap before those.
Oh, everyone just about.
Yeah.
You don't get through
Oh, it
all
was
the
brutal.
holes on both sides with a whole tap. No way.
Because me and Nick sat down and we're both tapping, and he's got a timer running just because we got to figure out how long it's taking. It was an amazing amount of time, and then we got that Tapmatic, and like you said, 10 seconds, man.
Yeah, and I'm not kidding when I say
Yeah.
that that's the actual time. That's about how long it takes to do both sides. So, yeah.
It was a lot of ham tapping because anyone who has tapped a hole knows until it squeaks, back it out, hit it with the oil, in, out, in, out. It was just, and when you're talking a tap as small as he's talking about, you're not doing this. You're doing this. you're just moving it a little bit there. So,
Yeah.
oh, well. So what's your weekends, guys? What are you looking at for the weekend?
Cleaning.
I'll go first.
Sorry.
Go ahead, LT. You finished us out in the what we've been doing. You lead us off.
Well, I'm sure that Elaine and I will do a little more down in the basement. We got a lot done. It's looking really good. And I heard I was making a meatloaf on Sunday, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. However, tomorrow, I believe I will be involved in putting a synthetic line on my Jeep winch. So I'm kind of excited about that.
Nice. Nice.
That's
What
Project.
kind of line did you go with?
Hi,
what
Viz.
is it?
Hi, Viz.
Hi.
It's
Yeah,
hard to
Viz.
do, Orion.
Okay, cool.
100
Very
foot.
cool.
Yeah, 100
Nice.
foot. So we're going to get rid of my cable and put that on. I'm super excited. Can't wait to do that.
Sweet.
Yeah. Get that project off of my list. And then, depending on what kind of time and, if it's raining or whatever, we'll see. I got to get the kayak mounts ready because, man, summer is coming. Yeah.
Cool.
For sure.
So that's what I got going on. Who's up?
You pick.
Nick. 'Cause he's-
Let's see. I got some more work in the basement. I actually I ended up flooding the basement the other day.
Just by accident?
Yeah, well,
Did
sort
the
of.
still blow up?
So, no, that would have been better. But hey, hold on one second. Hold on.
Whoa. All right.
Fine, Nick.
Scott. Hey, Scott,
Okay.
what are you doing this weekend?
Other than cleaning up the bench in the garage because I got tools scattered everywhere from my hip fitter disease, I might
Sorry, I had
actually
a-
hook the CB up.
I had a pot on the stove that was boiling over.
So
I have
you're at-
I have my SWR meter. I got the little piece of coax. I'm ready to hook it up. I have 2 of my huge Uniden CBs that I had when I was truck driving. It's the same size as a Cobra 29. It's the big Kahuna CB. So it's a little big for Tacoma. But I'm going to, because I won't have it in there all the time probably. I have a piece of Velcro attached to the top of the dashboard for the little Midland radio. And I put a piece on the bracket for the big old CB. So I'll put that on there, just temporary.
Gotcha.
Put the SWR meter to it and see what I get.
Right on.
We'll see. It's supposed to
What's
rain a
this
bunch, so
temporary
we'll see.
crap?
Well, I don't want to
screwed
join any
mine
more
right to
holes in the.
transmission tunnel.
Yeah. Then it takes up leg room. I don't know.
I don't worry about the people on the passenger side. I don't have to sit there.
He's trading this truck in, Sam. Not
Right.
keeping it.
Let's not
Yeah,
get started on that. Let's move on.
So after you make sure that radio, that big one, works, let me know because I might be interested in it.
Yes,
I
we'll
have
be taking
2.
it
I
out.
might have one for sale.
Okay, well let's test it out. Make sure. You never
One,
know.
I want to hook them up and at least key the mic, get things going because one of them was my radio when I was truck driving. So it's been what's called tweaked and peaked. It has a Connex Echo board in it. It's got some stuff in it.
It's a
And
hot
the
rodded
other CD
CB.
was- oh, it is. It is. And the other radio was my cousin David's when he was truck driving. It was probably tweaked and peaked, but I don't think it has as fancy of a guts as mine does. So
Gotcha. Okay.
we'll see.
All right, Nick, back to you if you're done cooking.
Yeah. Sorry about that. But yeah, so I've been doing cleanup for the last couple days down there, which it was one of the things on my list to clean up the basement. So
Wait,
good motivation.
how did the flood start?
Okay, so you know how you have the freestanding sink in some basements and your washer drains into that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
I
so I
want to
have
help.
that. Right. So my son is a month and a half old.
I was going to say, he's this big.
Right. So he's prone to blowing out his diapers right now a little bit. So I had one of his little onesie outfits soaking in that sink. But then I was like, I'll multitask. And I turned the washer on. So the onesie got stuck in the drain. The sink overflowed and water everywhere.
Poop water.
So about half the basement was flooded, and thankfully the unfinished side, and it didn't get to the other side. But yeah, so I've been doing cleanup on that, and I expect I'll be doing some more of that today and tomorrow. But yeah.
Yay, at least you're honest.
Yeah, hey, I got all the washing done. Like everything is washed again and dried, and yeah.
Well, since you're being honest about that, remind me to tell you about the time Sam set the field on fire. Sam, what do you got?
I did not set the field
I heard
on
he
fire.
had somebody with him though when that happened. I
guy
don't
with
remember. It was a
the
taller
lighter, I think.
fella. I can't remember who he said though.
That was a
I'm
strong
gonna
transition.
say-
Strong
All I'm
transition.
going to say here is the burn pile is still there.
I don't think that's really wood.
That's the best part of the whole story. No kidding. I'm sitting there and we're lighting in this like, all that grass is on fire in that pile. We can't even get the light to save nothing. So anyway, after the fire department. Anyway, Sam, what do you got going on this weekend?
Did you say Sam? Is that what you said?
Sam.
Sam, I will be participating in installing a winch light on the front of a Jeep,
Sweet.
and then whatever's next on that list.
And since it's a 100-foot cable, we will socially distance ourselves.
We will be at least 6 feet apart
Nice.
at all times. I'm sure.
Nice.
Since he'll be in the Jeep running the controller, and I will be feeding the line.
We have a plan.
We do.
We should film it because we have problems.
Yeah, it'll
sometimes.
probably work out as well as you guys trying to light that pile of wood on fire.
Yeah, let's not do that and say we did.
So that's the plan, huh?
Yep.
Sounds like a good plan. Mikey, what do you got going on?
If the weather cooperates, I have a bunch of yard projects I have to do. Clean out all of our planter beds, getting ready for some mulch that is coming.
Woohoo! Are you going to just have a truck driver drop it off?
I normally go pick it up, but I can't right now.
Are you doing this?
No.
Okay, who's doing that?
I don't know who's making the clicking noises.
I got both hands here, Bubba.
Nobody click.
I have no pen.
I got nothing.
Ditto.
All right.
No
Well,
Mine
Mikey,
don't make a noise.
Mikey, you got any questions before? Because we're getting close to wrap up time.
It says the toilet tank valve in the basin will prevent flooding.
Aha! There you go, Sam or Nick.
I'll keep that in mind.
Right on.
I replied to the winch cable question. Just have to.
Oh, was there a question of winch cable?
How long would it last? I replied a bunch of stuff.
Okay. I'll let you know.
You should read that, LT. I know you know to spool it on under tension, right?
Yeah.
I just saw something. Dang, where'd I see that?
You,
It was on what?
You posted something on your Facebook page about how to wrap a winch like last
Yeah.
week.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
I saw that.
And if that cable, I have also a synthetic winch line from Brad at High Vis, and I haven't opened it up yet. If it has a thimble on the end to use the Allen screw to screw the thing into the drum,
Right.
I have done that on another winch line and it worked okay. But it's a good idea to, watch that video. That guy lays a line along the drum, puts a clove hitch on it, and puts a couple wraps on it. That is very secure. And make sure that when you're spooling it in and you're watching the drum, after you have maybe 6 or 8 wraps on the drum, put a piece of red electrical tape on the line so that when you are in the heat of the moment winching and you're unspooling, that when you see that tape, stop freewheeling. Because it's, especially in the dark and it's muddy and you're standing in a puddle, you might just zip the whole thing right off there. Didn't we do that somewhere?
Yeah, when you were holding it on with electrical tape.
Flops and
yes. So put some warning tape on it so you know how far out of the fair lead it is.
Mike and I are walking through briars, and then we had to re-spool your winch in the middle of a rainstorm.
Yeah.
See?
In the mud in flip-flops.
Such an example.
Good times, I bet.
Not to go four-wheeling in Scott's truck.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
That's all right. He made up for it when he cut his finger real bad.
So that's good stuff. Well, hey, guys, have a great weekend. Well, guys, we hope you had a great afternoon hanging out with us for about an hour and a half.
Hour and a half.
So we have fun. We have fun. It kind of helps us kill this time while we're sitting here sequestered. We've got nothing to do. Can't wait to keep on getting back at getting back doing things.
Yep. And if you come up with a question, if you're watching this after the fact, and you come up with a question you want to ask us, email us at info@ltrateknives.com.
Yep. And Aaron will ask me, and
Good
we'll
tip.
give the answer or anything. But I have fun doing these. These are always fun. Next week, and if you have something that you want to know about, for sure, we can do a program on it. We can talk about a couple different things. But we'll try to do another one next Friday. See if we can't teach them something else. So today you learned how to grind and sharpen. Maybe
Next Friday's topic: how to put a synthetic winch line on a drum.
and keep your basement from flooding while baking bread.
That's right.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hey, don't forget, we do have some knives available. If you're looking for a knife, just check out www.ltrateknives.com. And if you're not a member of the Pound House, think about joining. They got a lot of stuff going on. There's always a barter house, knives getting traded and sold, and all kinds of stuff going on over there. Talking trucks, talking fishing, talking hunting, you name it. There's always a good thread going on. And stay safe, and let's get through this COVID-19 thing. Thanks for being here, and we will see you again soon. Bye-bye. God bless you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.